me. It is. It's in my DAX folder. There's one that he's running 5 minutes behind. This class. Oh, you do a one that's
Me out, honey.
Oh, it's red now.
Don't stress me
It's
out.
automatic, huh?
automatic.
All right.
Oh, we're a couple minutes early then.
Oh, my phone it's 5:30 exactly on mine.
Oh yeah, mine does too.
Yeah.
My computer's a little behind, I guess.
Okay.
Me.
Okay. We'll let a couple more people get here, then we'll Meg get in, we'll roll on now.
Okay.
I thought I just needed it for the 29th, which is the last Saturday in April. We're following that Saturday unless told so. So that date's tentative. And that's what was discussed then. And so this month, man, we're in August. Wow.
Yeah.
Just looking at that on paper.
Exactly.
We're going to continue talking about the community roundtable and make sure that we're having things set up for that. And so I guess we can start that conversation, and then Wayne can just join in when he gets here, because I think he's the last person that we're expecting. So what is the topic of discussion for the roundtable? Like, when we have that, what are we wanting to be the topic of discussion for that? Okay, we can just popcorn ideas out.
And I'll tell you how we normally,
Okay.
So normally it's more of a listening session, but even with a listening session, it's centered around, what's the main topic you guys want to talk about
Right.
when we're in the listening session. So again, so we know, how to put that out as far as, we put out the event, we kind of have it structured to where here's what we're going to talk about.
The last session was that centered around, and it was after the George Floyd killing. So I assumed that session, I apologize, was not there. My assumption is that all the questions were geared towards that main topic of maybe police, diversity training, what our police officers are doing here to improve and to continue to make sure their training is on point. Was that the last session?
It wasn't so much about training
Okay.
as it was more of an education on what other cities are doing.
Okay.
After George Floyd,
Okay.
like what did cities do?
Yeah.
Because
There
was.
were.
You
I'm
go
sorry, Felicia. I don't mean to
Go
interrupt.
ahead.
Go ahead. Yeah, and then too, a big part of that was kind of just listening. A big piece of it was education, kind of explaining, what big city, other cities were doing, but what was feasible for the city of Conway, like what worked for the city of Conway, because you can have things on a larger scale, but we have to make sure those things work for the city. And the chief did a really good job of kind of explaining the things that were in process during that time. And we did a couple, we did some with our student leaders as well. And it was kind of a big part of it was education, but a big part of it was just listening to the thoughts, to the concerns, and to see where citizens were doing that time. But we followed up immediately after that with like an FAQ and different things like that to let people know what was going on. And I didn't mean to interrupt, Felicia, so you can jump in.
No, I was going to say, Meg, you made that point once before that sometimes people don't always want to hear from us.
Yeah.
And so that was one of those times that people wanted us to listen and then maybe go back to the drawing board and come back with some thoughts to say, hey, we heard you and here's what we've done since we last saw you. And so that's how we followed up with an FAQ to say, hey, here are some of the things that we can do.
Yeah.
Here's some of the things we can't do. And, you know, that's like, it's kind of
Makes
like our
sense.
compromise, but it was more of, you know, if you're gonna have leadership there, we want to be heard.
Yeah.
I mean, not that they don't want to hear from us, but it was like.
Glad you remember I said that.
I remember you said that. That was one of those times to where, you know, as city government, we wanted to make sure that the community was being heard.
Okay.
And then we followed up with an FAQ to say, yes, we heard you.
And the reason I asked that was, I guess, to go off that, I guess my suggestion, if we all agree, is to maybe find a topic that is important to the community now. I know that that topic is still very much important, but you know, what's something that is on people's minds that would bring people to come and voice their thoughts.
Can I jump in on that piece just for a sec? I like that point. I would also just be mindful that whatever topic you do want to keep it in alignment with the goals of the Diversity Council. So those goals that we went through and ironed out and that we discussed, what would be the main objectives of the council at this moment for the first 5 years, and then what would be the main objectives for the council following that portion. Is that ringing a bell with you guys?
Yes.
Okay.
And like I said, I missed that meeting. How long were we talking time-wise, roundtable?
An hour, no longer than an hour and a half.
60, 90 minutes.
And we thought about having it here at City Hall, and the council chambers is centrally located. It's ADA compliant. If we needed to record it, we could. So it has all the capabilities to do what we need just right here in-house. The only thing was that it would be limited space. So if we grew, then we'd have to grow to like the expo center, and we would need to know, we'd have to reserve or hold the expo because it's pretty busy. So we'd have to hold a larger space for that meeting, which the only thing about the expo is that it's a little bit harder to record out there. This building already has the capability in it, so.
And so will someone from the city be setting up the registration for that?
Mhm.
Okay. And I didn't notice in the meeting, what was our time frame on actually doing that? Having the
October, so.
October, okay.
So once we pick a date in October, kind of so that it's something that the Diversity Council always does. So we've learned that when we can say, you know, when you're gonna do something, we're always gonna have a community roundtable the third, you know, Monday in October. Every year we'll have one. And so we'll hear stuff throughout the year and we'll say, yes, that's what we want to talk about this year. So we'll always have it. You never have to guess a date. Date always stays the same. And that makes it so much easier for everyone. And when we promote it, we'll say, look forward to next year. You know, it'll be on a Wednesday this year or whatever. So just keeping it kind of the same kind of helps when we're trying to promote it as something we're going to do every year. And I don't think we picked the date, did we, Shawana?
I think we were initially in that, not that we have to settle on that date, but I think we were initially having the conversation around having it, on the second Thursday in October, which will be the day that we would normally do our diversity meeting. But instead of having that meeting, actually having that roundtable discussion.
Yeah.
Hey, Wayne.
Hello.
All right. And that second Tuesday, that second Tuesday is October the 10th. Okay, cool.
Second
Thursday.
Thursday. Oh, we do meet on, y'all work.
It's been a week.
You sound like me. I was like, whoa.
13, all right, cool.
Don't take me back to Tuesday.
All right.
I know.
And so I think we got a little time to come up with like the topic, but I think we need to be focusing in, and there's a lot that can happen between now and October. That can very well become a hot topic that we address. But I think we need to continue to revisit that so that we'll have something going. And so since it's a listening session, where did my agenda go? Followed by FAQ. And so the teaching session, that's part of that, were we looking at making that half of that 30 minutes, or that?
It would be totally separate. That was
Separate,
something
okay.
else we had thought about. We could also do educational sessions, so where we bring someone in to talk to the council about different things. If we want to open that up to the public, we certainly could. Again, it would still be limited because we'd have limited space, but that's just another variation of something we can also do, not at the listening session, but just as something else for the council.
If we did a listening session this year in October, we could do a teaching session next year in October, or kind of rotate it, or, so we could be educating and informing the public along with the council as well. It's not just discussing topics, but let's have somebody that professionally deals with them to come in and have a discussion on how to handle them from a day-to-day basis.
Gotcha. So when we're looking at the goal of the roundtable, if we're gonna have a listening session, let me make sure. We are listening to, like, the leadership is listening to people, or people are listening to leadership?
Leadership is listening to people.
Okay, so when we listen, then when do we respond to those questions?
So we follow up, we try to follow up, and we try to do a quick turnaround because we don't want it to lie dormant. So if there's questions that we can answer pretty quickly, I would say a week to 2 weeks, we have to follow back up with an FAQ that says, hey, we did a listening session, and here are some of the things that came from that listening session. Here are some things that, we put a pin in, and we hope to, look at those in the near future. There may be questions for the Diversity Council itself. I know we've had questions on what would the Diversity Council do, what can they do? We can also answer those, and then we get those for all of our boards and commissions, so we can also always put those in there as well.
And how's it normally relate to the community? Is it?
So we'll do social media, we'll do an email blast. Everyone who registered would automatically get it because we'll have their email address, so they would automatically get it. But Shawana will post it on social media that we're having it, and then it'll kind of be like a follow-up, like, hey, it's on our website. It'll have a home on the diversities page, just as our first one does, and we'll continue to update that. If there's questions that are asked, we can kind of always answer those questions all at once and not like a million. They're all over the place. We try to provide those links as we do with anything in one location. Go to our website and you can find them.
Got it. Thanks for catching me up. Just wanted to make sure I was straight. All right, so Meg, what was kind of your line of thought on the topic again?
Well, I guess I was tying into the last session that obviously there was a large event that happened that caused, that discussion to grow. I think Shawana's point, which I'm full agreement with, is I think we need to discuss what our objective is throughout this so that we can then pinpoint a topic or topics. But so I would like to discuss maybe our objective throughout this session and maybe popcorn some ideas on what we feel is important to the people, or maybe take a poll or get a good idea of what people want to hear about or learn. Or
I actually agree with that. What would be our feasibility of gathering information and kind of finding out what people want to know? Could we do a survey? Could we do something like that?
Could she post a poll on the page? give like some
We'd have to have some parameters.
That's what I was about to say,
Yeah.
like,
Open.
let's say if you gave like
Yeah.
some topic headlines.
Yeah, because the topics will range from what are you gonna do with the $24.6 million you just got?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we would have to
Yeah, I
definitely.
mean, like
They
if you
will.
gave them
Leave
like a
parameters.
certain, like, you know, the top 3 we will discuss. If you gave them
Yeah.
like 10 to go off of, and like we talk about maybe
And I think
top. Go ahead.
I think with the topics, I agree, like with the topics, but I think there are topics that we probably need to discuss that lie within things that we wanted to touch as well. You know, when we kind of talked about what we were going to deal with, because initially when we started out diversity, we were looking at this big, broad range of things, right?
Mhm.
And then we brought it into things that we wanted to deal with specifically within the next 5 years, right? So that my thought is coming up with different topics, but coming up in with different topics that are in alignment with the original goals and objectives that was defined by the Diversity Council. And that's within our range of control, because there are a lot of hot topics that are out there right now that are not necessarily within our range of control or our range of areas to really kind of address. Some stuff on the federal level is kind of out there a lot right now, but that's kind of beyond our realm of, excuse me, of topics and control.
So can I suggest that we go back, Shawana, and we kind of look at those original topics that we discussed, and we send out an email to you guys, and we say,
Yeah.
hey, here's what we discussed. Within that, what are your suggestions for what we do? And then email that to Shawana. And then from there, we come up with, say, 10 topics. And then we discuss maybe the top 2 or 3 at the, so that way they'll give you a chance to think about topics that you wanna hear discussed, and then go from there.
No worries.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I left my folder. I was trying to go back to our.
Those
too.
points.
And I
was
don't have
about-
Now I wanna go back to Shawana's phone. I was like,
Yeah,
when
yeah, I was
Shawana
going
gets back in the
back,
office.
Like I don't have it on with me.
Girl, 'cause I
Uh,
don't know what's going on.
So one of the responsibilities that we highlighted was to develop opportunities to improve community relationships with law enforcement and build transparency. That goes in line with the things that we wanted to do. Develop opportunities for citizens of Conway to build relationships across cultural boundaries. Incorporate opportunities to challenge student perspective, and continue dialogue on current issues of racism. And we're already working on the annual event. So yeah, I think I completely understand. I just had to get a better grasp of understanding. But with that, it has to fall within the scope of what we plan to do. And like I said, I'm sorry I don't have all my stuff with me today, but yeah, I totally get it. And then we can hash out some things and then decide by next meeting. So we'll have September. We'll have at September we need to have made a decision on what we'll do. So at our next meeting we'll be good on that. We good with that?
Yeah.
And then we'll follow up the listening session. And I'll say that for my own personality. So we're gonna follow that up with whatever the topic is, and the people are asking questions about those topics. Some of it may be fielded and answered on the spot, but what's not fielded and answered, then the Diversity Council will issue a FAQ up to 2 weeks later on most things. Let me not even say most, on some things, depending if it's relevant or not. And then the following year, we're looking at possibly having a teaching session. Is that?
Like that.
That sounds
Yep,
good.
sounds good.
And then I honestly, if it's a recurring theme and we can do it, I suggest we have a teaching session sooner than later if we can acquire the person, so that they can address the issue.
Agreed.
If we can find a person that specializes in it. I think that would be great, even if it's just done from our meeting and it's live streamed and people can say, hey, look, she wanted to do her thing on social media. Look, this is something that came up, was a recurring thing. we have a specialist that deals with this matter, and they'll be at our next meeting.
Like that.
I got you.
That way, people don't have to wait a year to get something that may be very beneficial to
Yeah,
them.
I like that.
Uh,
We can work on a teaching session pretty quick, so.
Yeah.
And since it'll be virtual, it won't require a lot. As much. And then as far as registration goes, that's all been handled by city personnel. All right, cool. All right. Now, our next. Well, that was actually the business for our meeting, honestly. I know people any other things about, before I move on, any other things about the round table, anything like that we want to discuss? Do we all have a clear idea of what we're doing? Our next meeting, we can popcorn ideas between now and next meeting. And then by next meeting, we all decide on a current topic that we will use in October at our roundtable discussion. We'll have the discussion, we'll follow up with FAQ within 2 weeks. If it's a recurring theme of ideas, we will look to secure somebody to do a teaching session. Yeah, and when do we need registration open by?
So it will probably open, your next meeting is in September, so it'll open shortly after that.
Okay.
So we'll have it open,
Yeah, but then it gets on my mind.
that's like,
Yeah.
that's like that'll be almost 30 days, because we'll close it probably a week before the meeting, so it'll be almost 3 weeks. We'll try to.
So if you have it open then, while we're actually streaming, we can say it's now
it'll go
open.
live. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
already
live.
It's
Yeah,
live.
it's live
If you wanna
on-
go on and register now, it's open for 3 weeks until right before our next meeting when we do it.
Perfect. Location secured time. All right. Like Danielle and I will be moderating.
Yes.
I mean, I missed and y'all it's like, hey.
That's what happens. That's what happens when you miss.
Volunteer you.
Hey, yeah. Yeah, but when I get back to the house and I grab my folder, I'll put our objectives into the things so that we can make sure that any ideas that we come up with are definitely in line with our purpose. So that we're not just out scattered doing anything without purpose. Yes. Oh.
And I don't have my folder. I don't have my folder here with me, sorry, guys. But I'll be back on task soon. So I'll look back through my notes on that, and you guys help me remember correctly. I think we kind of went through and we did a scale on all of the objectives that we have, and we pulled out the top 3.
Mhm.
So going back to find what those top 3 are, it's in my folder. So I apologize again that I don't have that with me, but Ralph, I'll send that to you too, before, so you can
Right, because I'm looking through
work it up for the council.
Yeah, I'm looking through my Google Notes and I was just like, which meeting was that?
Which meeting?
'Cause I got a lot in Google, but I don't have my hard copies.
I wanna say that was like February, March.
I thought it was March 2.
It's like February, March. It's probably like February, March when you look.
February, March, because let me look, because I know we went through and we did kind of dove pretty deep into that.
Yeah.
It was like right when we did like the revamp, when we like,
Mm-hmm.
we did our hone in on it.
Yeah.
It was like when,
Oh, yeah, I have them. You want me to read them?
what month was it?
The top 3,
March 11th.
Okay.
I have the top 3. It was develop and implement opportunities for citizens of Conway to build relationships across cultural boundaries through outreach and communication. That was A. And then B was directing the process of selecting, developing, and implementing community outreach activities and educational opportunities to promote diversity. And C was develop opportunities to improve community relationships with city government to continue to build transparency and community trust.
Okay,
So you pretty much
Yeah,
had guessed it.
yeah.
and so, and I'm just, I want that last one, what's the pulse of Conway right now on community trust in leadership? Because I can't say I just know everything, so I'm curious to kind of see, we don't have any data or anything that we could pull to kind of figure that one out. And fortunately, in a good, there's nothing that has happened, because usually people leave good enough alone until something happens and then there's outcry. And so thinking about, okay, I mean, you can always do some what ifs, how would the city respond if this occurs, and it's not quite our thing, but just some safety issues and things like that may be brought up with schools and all of that stuff. It's outside of our scope, but when you're talking about transparency and you're talking about response and understanding, it's like, okay, how do people respond to that? What would be the plan of the city to help with that, regardless? Because those are going to be matters that, though I think that doesn't completely fall under diversity, that may find themselves being involved with what we do, simply because it's what's currently happening. And so I think we'll have to kind of be, when we pick our topic, I think we're going to have to be careful on the broadness of it, because it could really go into the weeds really quickly with substantial, pertinent information, not craziness. And so I think we're going to have to, when we look at those are still broad. So I think we'll still have to make time, because otherwise, because as a parent, I'm like, okay, what does the city look like when if something happened at a school? What will be the response? But that has nothing to do with us. But as a parent, I'm just thinking.
And we've had that question. I mean, we've had that question a lot, and that comes from those partnerships we have. The Conway Public School District and our SROs are there. So, there is a level of, the city will respond because, of course, our SROs are currently there.
And done training, they've been through training this
and they've been doing a lot of training.
Last week or the week
before. So some of them they just don't know. I know them.
Right, and we've also at our last council meeting, I think we're hiring more SROs to go into school.
Good.
So
That's good.
I think education is always a big piece of everything. How do we get that information, or how do we get that information out so everyone has access to it? And again, that's the city starting, we always say social media, but we can't solely depend on social media. So we try to make sure, we have, Log Cabin, but we also have our own channel now, Channel 22, that we're going to start programming on. And I think that will help, because there'll be different mediums. Because again, you can't solely rely on social media, because you need different outlets for different people. So I think that's been one of the things, again, that the mayor has really focused on, was an outlet for everyone. Because we do go hard on social media, but just like we have to have other outlets too, so everyone is informed. So.
Have they came up with like a number of like maybe more school officers they're going to come up with?
I think we're hiring 4 additional officers, and then maybe dividing them out throughout the schools. I think some of them share schools.
I was about to say a couple of schools share. I know like Otta Burns and Bob Courtway is Mr. Woods. He does both schools. I know there was another one. I know a couple of them like share an officer that are really close schools together.
That'd be good for all the schools to have.
So, and our point here proves how quickly how quickly it can just, which though is still important.
It's still important.
It's extremely important, but how
and the listening session will be timed, so you will have 2 minutes to speak, so it will be timed.
Okay,
That's good.
So because without a timer, we definitely would.
Now I know in some instances people can give their time to other people. It's not one. Okay, cool.
I've seen that happening. Once Man.
Is it
Y'all know
3
that we
minutes or
can
2
talk
minutes?
ourselves for hours.
2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
I seen that happen to somebody once, and it was like the lady behind was like, "Oh, you can have my time. You got it." She's like, "You got it. You can have my time."
2 minutes per person.
All right, 2 to 3 minutes per person. What's typical? 2?
3 is typical.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to get something out in 2 minutes. We
It
just
is.
had a public
Right.
hearing. That was a sign ordinance and we gave everyone 3 minutes,
Okay.
so 3 minutes was definitely probably a little bit better than 2.
Got it. And I found the survey, Shawana, that you sent out. I was looking at that.
Oh, the survey with, to
Mhm.
where we came up with our top 3 to narrow it down, because we had a whole lot, which was good stuff though.
It was. Let's see here. Let's try and look at my notes real quick. I know we said September. I'm really liking the opportunity, this one that says directing the process of selecting, developing, and implementing community outreach activities and educational opportunities to promote diversity. So really having a listening session, kind of finding out what does the community feel like they need or how should it be presented to be able to better understand how to increase, promote diversity in the community. So what can the city do to help you promote diversity and kind of getting some ideas from them? And I think even part of that could be best ways to do best ways to contact people.
Best
Right.
ways
I
to
mean,
educate people.
Uh,
How
best-
do,
I mean,
how do we educate you on
Right.
you know, what we're doing? What
Right,
can we
'cause-
do different?
How do you think we can reach you?
Because I can't educate you if I can't reach you.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we'll decide next time, but I think that will be a good one. If we're listening and we're targeting the questions, targeting how can we assist in better increasing your understanding of diversity in our community? And then coupled with that, what are the best methods for relaying this information to you that it will be accessible and you'll read it or watch it? Or watch it, you know? So I think while we got people there, we definitely need to kind of survey them to find out what are the best ways to contact you.
Like for
Because
the,
some people, I mean, I do social media, but it's like elementary level. I mean, I may miss 75% and catch 20.
we also, for the public hearing, we left comment cards. Some people
That
did
we
not
know, yeah.
want to speak publicly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we left comment cards at the back. They can put their comment cards in a
Yeah.
box. We also obtain comments that
was
way.
good.
And they can also email us comments too. We'll do the same thing for this one. We have an email address, diversity@conwayarkansas.gov. So if you want just like to send us an email, you can do that as well. And then we can gather all of those. We can get those to y'all and then go from there.
Nice. So we will definitely be thinking about that. So we got a little time left. We're on the road for a topic. We got all that down, registration, we got that down. It's gonna be 3 minutes max. It's gonna
We
be
literally have a timer that we set
Yeah.
up. You can see your time as you're speaking.
Where all places do y'all post like city council meetings?
They live, we have a channel 22. They live on YouTube. So every city council meeting that we've done, it's on YouTube, on our YouTube channel.
Maybe that could be another thing, like
Yes.
putting these on channel 22.
Yep, it'll flow through Facebook, all the time.
Well, I was just sitting here thinking of other ways to reach people. who
Just,
don't
so like
do
even this
Facebook.
meeting is on channel
Yeah.
22. It's on, we don't do Facebook
YouTube.
Live for these, but we do, they all live on YouTube.
Yeah.
They just, they're always there. So people go back and watch.
I go back and watch all of them.
Because they're all there, so.
Yeah. So is there any other business around what we're doing for the roundtable? All right. Any old business that we need to discuss?
Shawana, do we want to talk about the diversity day, just a little bit. It's not until next year, but just kind of, send us your thoughts and ideas on that day.
Yeah.
We do currently have MLK Square. It's a smaller park, but that is a new park that we brought online. We had originally definitely looked at Fifth Avenue because it provides us a large
Space.
theme to do a lot more, but we're open to, if we want to do something small, we could do MLK. If we want to do something large, we could definitely do Fifth Avenue. So just kind of, think about that. If we're going to do a big diversity day, food trucks and
I'm saying, I got notes on that. I remember
Let's
the
have food
ideas.
trucks.
Yeah.
have tents, we can have our,
That's what I'll be.
invite
Yeah.
people.
Be
We map it all out to see how many people we're gonna have and everyone registers so we know where everyone,
Yeah.
so just the whole process of it, it's gonna take a little planning to do, and we probably just start that planning sooner rather than later.
Mhm.
But if we're gonna do something larger than Fifth Avenue would be, because we already have all the pavilions.
I think that's where it should be anyway. For bigger, like one
green
of the bigger,
space.
for the space, because if you're gonna have the option to do diversity for different food trucks for the different cultures, you're gonna need the space to put the trucks. If you're gonna do, I know we had mentioned doing like different cultural things, so having some tents set up, for each station for different cultural things that you wanna learn and stuff like that, you're definitely gonna need the space for that. So, and I mean, if you're at a smaller place, I mean, it can get packed pretty quick, so.
It's, cause it's, I mean, it's a nice, small, but it's very small.
Yeah, at least, over there, there's a
It's-
lot of, it's big, you
it's
can
big.
spread out all
And
across
possibly
there.
attract people that just may be there.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Right.
definitely.
And then we also, Shawana, something I thought about today, we need a rain date. So we need to set a date that we're gonna have, because normally that week it
In
is.
the backup.
And then we already need to set a rain date. So that way, if we're doing food vendors, they already have both of our dates.
Yeah,
So they already know
Okay.
that they have like the 28th, but they also could be May 17th or whatever. So just have another date.
and
in
like
mind.
reserve the whole park.
We will have the whole park, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, we'll have the whole park.
Do that.
We'll have the whole park.
Oh, definitely be. Yeah, definitely steady.
That's
And we
something
were
I'm
looking at doing it in April. I'm sorry, because I don't know if I'm interrupting y'all, if there's a stall there, so I apologize if it's coming off,
It's a delay.
coming out like that. That's not my intention. We were looking at April with it being Diversity Month. In the month of April, we kind of talked about the date for that. And currently we are calling it the Diversity Day Bash, but we don't have to call it a bash per se. That was just kind of what we thought of at the moment, for lack of a better word. So we can kind of, play around with the name, but we do want to make sure that it's known to be the Diversity Day for the city. But I do like Fifth Avenue. Again, if we did decide to do MLK Square, it would be smaller, but Fifth Avenue, I think, kind of fits everything that we were talking about with these big grand ideas that we have. And I'm with it. I'm with it. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there with the name. We can kind of play around with the name. So if you guys have any thoughts, ideas, or whatever, please don't hesitate to email, so we can get that piece of it rolling. But the sooner we start planning for it, the better.
I think that maybe if we came up with like a list of things for like different people and venues and stuff that we could all push out to have people contact us or whatever, that we
Yes.
can tell
Yeah.
to, hey, go here and register for this or that, and we can all individually push that on our own platforms, as well as doing it through the page and stuff like that, to reach more people. I think that would help, and then that would help us go ahead and start filling up our roster spots for food or
Yep.
different cultural tents, like for whatever different one, like.
So Shawana and I will work with parks, and then we'll do a map of the park, and then we'll kind of lay out where
Perfect.
we want everything to lay, and then of course, the diversity council will have like a tent, but maybe like we'll set it up. Either it can be the 2 pavilions that are already there. That could be the diversity's area, or we have tents and we can pop up in the middle to where we're surrounding
Yeah.
everyone.
Oh, that's
I
nice.
like that.
Oh, like
Yeah, I
in the
like
middle,
that.
like where
Yeah.
they used to have the little tennis court or whatever. Put you right
Yes,
in the
and
middle.
that has a tent over it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So it has a tent as well.
You could do that, and I'd say you stack the food trucks like in the parking lots, like on the edge. There's parking lots on both sides. You could do a couple food trucks over here, a couple over there, and then do the tents out through the fields.
Like that.
Well, the grass areas and stuff are and different things. So
Yep, and we have sidewalks now, so yeah, we'll walk through and map it out with Steve. I know we have one designated spot for a food truck right now on the corner, and it already has power.
Oh, nice.
a lot of those
So
guys bring generators.
most of them bring, but
Mhm.
we now allow them, so we have a spot like that. So just making sure we set up and it's all spaced out properly.
Mhm.
We'll walk the park with Steve and the fire department and then just put together a map and just kind of like lay it out.
And I'm sure Heather will push it out through Conway schools too, or at least I'll ask her. Because that come to every parent in the district.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you signed it, because they don't send out on paper flyers anymore.
Yeah.
So that would be an easy way to get kids involved.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And you have some activities and games. You're like, Mama, I want to go. Come
Yeah.
on, baby.
And our goal is to open the splash pad for that event. So that event, the splash,
That'd be
they don't
perfect.
open that early, but for that event,
Yes.
my goal is to have them open.
And hopefully bring some parents out there that may not have, come otherwise. So I think I love the splash pad idea. It's tremendous.
Cool. And so we'll continue our discussions on that because I know our January, February, and March meetings are going to be all around that, but definitely having a good scaffolded plan will be best so that we'll be ready to go. That makes me feel at peace as well. And I'm not an event planner, but and I'll let you creatives come up with this creative name because I'll be like Diversity Day. That's what it is. It's Diversity Day.
We'll work hard on names.
Yeah, so cool. So we got that taken care of. I think we're on the path for that. I do want to, any other old business, I was looking at the minutes from last week. I think we're good. That was the only thing that was on our on our last meeting that I think that we hadn't discussed. So I'll move on to, because we're almost up. I'll move on to new business. So it's not new business, but I just want to say thank you guys for continue to show up. I know it's very busy. It's very busy. And I was telling Shawana, I was like, I'm sorry. I was like, it's been crazy. I got 3 kids and we got an event tonight. And I was like, they'll be all right. It ain't that big of a deal. And so things are going, but you guys are making a sacrifice to be here each month. And so I appreciate that. The city appreciates that. The community appreciates it. Even if they don't know, 'cause they may not know what's happening, but the roots are definitely being are growing deeper, and our foundation is getting stronger so that once we start doing things, we have a great team that we can rely on, that we can trust to get things done. So I just want to make sure that y'all know I appreciate it, and we'll keep on having quorums. We'll keep on having our people here. And I know at this time of the year, I think we have a couple out today, but overall, they at least told us it wasn't last minute, So you be grateful for that. It's come a long way because I was just looking at some of them notes from way back when I was in Google, and I was like, well, we don't. Okay, so anyway, so I just wanted to say thank you, and I think we'll continue to do well, and we'll continue to show up. And so, and you guys being here is just an example of your commitment to our community, and so we are very grateful for that. And so, is there any new business?
No, we're good.
All right, so if there's not,
Back
oh,
to the
okay,
minutes.
yes, ma'am.
The approval.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes.
See, there we go. All right.
Great secretary.
So now we have two new people here. Not new people. I was trying to move on. It's like, no, Marla, you can't do that. So the minutes for June was emailed to you, our June 9th meeting. Hopefully you guys all had an opportunity to read over that. And so I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'm motion to approve.
Second.
All right. You got that, Miss Jackie?
I have it.
All right, cool. So anything else, Miss Jackie? Is that we
Yes, sir,
good?
that's
All
all.
right.
We
All
got
right.
it.
So now, if there's nothing else, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right.
Any objections? Oh.
All in favor? All
Aye.
So no objections to that. So we'll consider this meeting adjourned. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I'm trying to make sure we cut out before I start talking.
Oh, you had it on that too. I thought I heard somebody talking. Ain't said nothing the whole time we've been here.